Amanda and Blessing met on their very first day at the University of Lagos, standing in a long queue outside Oluyewasi Hall, sweating under the unforgiving Lagos sun. Amanda was outspoken, bold, and always laughing too loudly, while Blessing was calm, observant, and carried herself with quiet confidence. From that moment, something clicked. They became inseparable, sharing bunk beds, lecture notes, midnight snacks, and dreams bigger than the campus itself. Throughout their university years, the girls balanced each other. Amanda loved attention and thrived in social spaces, often dragging Blessing to parties and gatherings. Blessing, on the other hand, preferred reading, planning, and learning skills beyond her coursework. She often spoke about building wealth, owning property, and living a life free from dependency. Amanda would laugh and call her Madam CEO, never realizing how serious Blessing was. Despite their differences, they protected each other fiercely. When Amanda's relationship ended in tears, Blessing was there. When Blessing struggled academically one semester, Amanda stayed up nights helping her revise. They promised each other that graduation would not separate them, that life after school would be even better. But life, as neither of them knew then, had its own plans. Plans that would test their friendship, their values, and their understanding of consequences. Graduation came with excitement and fear wrapped in the same gown. The joy of holding their certificates faded quickly as reality hit. Jobs were scarce. Interviews led nowhere. Emails went unanswered. Amanda returned to Port Harcourt, while Blessing went back to Ibadan. Distance crept in slowly, carried by busy days and silent nights. Months turned into years. Blessing tried everything: NYSC connections, internships, online courses. She saved small stipends and learned about land documentation, property flipping, and housing development. While others complained, she planned. She believed struggle was temporary if discipline was permanent. Amanda's path was different. Without stable employment and pressured by society's expectations, she leaned into her charm and beauty. What started as casual dating slowly became a lifestyle of short-term relationships and material comfort. She convinced herself it was survival, not choice. Though they occasionally chatted online, neither told the full truth of their lives. They both smiled through their screens, hiding worries they didn't yet understand. 5 years after graduation, fate reunited them in the most unexpected place: a crowded BRT bus in Lagos. Blessing recognized Amanda instantly, even before their eyes met. When they screamed each other's names, passengers stared, confused but amused. They talked non-stop, exchanging stories, laughing, and apologizing for the years lost. Amanda revealed she had moved to Lagos permanently. Blessing shared that she had recently started earning from small real estate deals. It felt like old times, as if life had given them a second chance. Amanda suggested they become roommates to save costs. Blessing hesitated briefly but agreed, seeing it as practical. They found a modest 2-bedroom apartment in Surulere and moved in together, excited and hopeful. Neither of them knew that sharing a roof again would expose truths they had long buried, and create wounds deeper than distance ever could. Living together revealed how much they had changed. Blessing woke up early, made calls, inspected properties, and met clients. Amanda slept late, dressed beautifully, and often returned home with gifts from men whose names Blessing never learned. Blessing never judged openly, but concern lingered in her eyes. She advised Amanda gently about stability and the future. Amanda laughed it off, insisting life was meant to be enjoyed. "Tomorrow will take care of itself," she often said. Slowly, Blessing's real estate hustle began to pay off. She saved, invested, and dreamed of marriage. She wanted a peaceful home, a responsible partner, and children raised with values. Amanda supported her dreams, at least in words. But destiny had already planted a silent seed, one that would grow into pain, betrayal, and irreversible consequences. As months passed, Blessing's life began to take a clearer shape. She closed her first major property deal, a small block of flats on the outskirts of Ibadan, and the commission changed everything for her. For the first time since graduation, she felt stable. She upgraded her wardrobe modestly, sent money home, and even began saving intentionally for marriage. Amanda watched all of this with mixed emotions. She was proud of Blessing, yet uneasy. Her own lifestyle provided quick money but no sense of direction. The men came and went, each promising something different, none staying long enough to build anything meaningful. There were nights Amanda returned home unusually quiet. She complained of fatigue, occasional fevers, and discomfort she brushed off as stress. Blessing urged her to visit a hospital, but Amanda laughed it away, blaming Lagos traffic and late nights. Neither of them understood that the body often whispers before it screams, and Amanda had chosen not to listen. Blessing met Daniel Adewale at a property exhibition in Victoria Island. He was calm, well-spoken, and genuinely interested in her work. Unlike most men she encountered, Daniel admired her discipline and vision. Their conversations went beyond attraction. They spoke about values, faith, and long-term goals. As their relationship grew, Blessing felt hopeful. Daniel met her family. Marriage discussions began quietly, respectfully. For the first time, Blessing allowed herself to dream of a wedding, a home filled with peace, and a future she had carefully prepared for. Amanda seemed genuinely happy for her friend. She helped Blessing pick outfits, teased her about becoming Mrs. Adewale, and even talked about changing her own lifestyle someday. Yet, deep inside, a strange fear stirred, one she couldn't explain. That fear would soon turn into regret, and regret into devastation. As part of their marriage preparation, Daniel suggested medical tests, a routine requirement his family insisted on. Blessing agreed without hesitation. She had lived carefully, focused on her goals, and had nothing to hide. When the results came back, the doctor's face was unusually serious. He asked Blessing to sit. The words that followed felt unreal. She had tested positive for a sexually transmitted disease, one that could affect fertility and marital stability. Blessing laughed at first, convinced it was a mistake. She had been cautious. She demanded another test. A third. Each result said the same thing. Her world began to collapse silently inside the sterile hospital room. She left the hospital shaking, confused, and broken, carrying a diagnosis she never imagined would bear her name. Blessing replayed every decision she had ever made, searching for how this could be possible. The only explanation terrified her. Slowly, reluctantly, her thoughts turned toward the shared space she called home. She remembered borrowing towels, shared laundry, occasional accidents with personal items, things she had never considered dangerous. Panic gripped her. She confronted Amanda gently at first, asking questions that made Amanda visibly uncomfortable. Under pressure, Amanda broke down. Tears streamed as she confessed her reckless past, her fear of testing, and her refusal to face consequences. She admitted she had ignored symptoms, choosing comfort over responsibility. Blessing's heart shattered, not only from the diagnosis, but from betrayal she never saw coming. The silence between them became heavier than any argument. The apartment that once echoed with laughter became unbearably quiet. Blessing avoided Amanda, locking herself in her room for hours, replaying every shared memory. The betrayal cut deeper because it came from someone she trusted with her life. Amanda tried to apologize, kneeling, crying, promising she never meant harm. She blamed ignorance, fear, and desperation. But apologies felt empty against the weight of what had been done. Blessing couldn't bring herself to scream or curse. Instead, She withdrew. Silence became her weapon and her shield. She felt robbed, not just of health, but of the future she had carefully built. Friendship, she realized, was not just about loyalty, but responsibility. Blessing gathered courage to tell Daniel the truth. She sat across from him, hands trembling, tears staining her words. She explained everything: the diagnosis, the confusion, the heartbreak. Daniel listened quietly, pain flickering in his eyes. He asked for time to think, promising to pray and consult his family. Blessing understood, though the waiting crushed her spirit. Days later, Daniel called. His voice was gentle but firm. He said he cared deeply, but marriage required certainty and peace of mind. His family would not support the union. The call ended. Blessing sank to the floor, realizing her dreams had ended without a single wedding bell. Amanda watched Blessing unravel, guilt eating her alive. She tried cooking, cleaning, talking, anything to help, but nothing repaired the damage. She had become a living reminder of loss. For the first time, Amanda confronted the emptiness of her lifestyle. The gifts, money, and temporary affection had cost her something priceless. She finally went for medical testing. The diagnosis confirmed her fears. Reality hit harder than any lecture ever could. She cried alone, realizing her silence had destroyed more than just her body. The regrets came late, but it came fiercely. Blessing decided she could no longer live in the apartment. Every corner reminded her of pain. She packed quietly, leaving before dawn. Amanda woke up to empty rooms and a note that said only one sentence: "I need space to heal." No insults. No anger. Just distance. Blessing moved in temporarily with a cousin. She focused on work, therapy, and treatment, trying to rebuild herself piece by piece. Amanda was left alone, with her mistakes, her guilt, and the consequences she could no longer escape. Blessing's days became carefully structured. Mornings were for site inspections and client meetings, afternoons for hospital appointments, and nights for quiet reflection. Healing was no longer just physical. It was emotional and spiritual. She learned that strength sometimes meant admitting pain. Her doctors were honest but hopeful. Treatment would take time, discipline, and patience. Some days she felt strong. Other days, she broke down without warning. Still, she showed up, for herself. Work became her anchor. Real estate gave her control in a world that had suddenly spun out of order. Each completed deal reminded her that her life was not over, just altered. Yet, in the quiet moments, the thought of marriage lingered like an unfinished sentence. Living alone forced Amanda to face herself. Without distractions, the apartment felt suffocating. She replayed her past, realizing how easily she had dismissed warnings and advice. Medical visits became frequent, and the reality of treatment humbled her. She lost contacts, lost income, and lost the illusion that beauty could protect her forever. Amanda started attending counseling sessions and support groups. Listening to other women's stories shattered her belief that she was alone, but also confirmed that her choices had consequences. For the first time in years, Amanda wanted change, not comfort. Months later, Amanda gathered courage and called Blessing. Her voice trembled as she apologized again, not to be forgiven, but to acknowledge responsibility. Blessing listened silently. She did not shout or cry. She thanked Amanda for finally taking accountability but made it clear that forgiveness did not mean closeness. The call ended with mutual tears. Some wounds, they both understood, healed slowly, or never fully. Still, that conversation marked the first step toward emotional honesty. Blessing's real estate business expanded beyond expectations. She partnered with developers, hired staff, and became a respected name in her field. Recognition brought admiration, but also pressure. Suitors appeared, yet Blessing remained cautious, guarded by experience. She learned to define success differently, not by marriage alone, but by peace, health, and self-worth. And in that quiet confidence, she began to rediscover joy. 2 years passed quietly. Blessing had built walls around her heart, not out of bitterness, but wisdom. Life moved on, steady and controlled, until one afternoon when she attended a real estate conference in Abuja. Among the crowd, she noticed a familiar face, Amanda. Thinner, calmer, and far less glamorous, she looked different. Their eyes met, and time seemed to pause. Amanda hesitated, unsure whether to approach. Blessing felt a storm of emotions but chose maturity over impulse. She nodded, acknowledging her presence. That brief moment reopened doors both of them thought were permanently sealed. Later that evening, Amanda gathered courage and approached Blessing. They spoke cautiously, like strangers teaching each other anew. Amanda shared her journey, treatment, loss, self-discovery. She spoke without excuses, owning her mistakes fully. Blessing listened, not with anger, but clarity. She had mourned the friendship already. What stood before her was not the girl she once knew. Healing, she realized, didn't always require reunion, but it required understanding. Forgiveness did not come easily. Blessing wrestled with it privately, praying for guidance. She eventually understood that forgiveness was not for Amanda. It was for herself. Carrying resentment had become another burden. She told Amanda she forgave her, but their bond would never be the same. Trust, once broken, rarely returns whole. Amanda accepted this with humility, grateful for even that small mercy. They parted that night peacefully, each walking in opposite directions. Blessing returned to Lagos with renewed purpose. She had faced her past and survived it. Amanda continued her journey of rebuilding, choosing honesty and restraint over convenience. Both women understood that life does not erase consequences, but it allows growth. As Blessing's influence in real estate grew, so did attention around her personal life. In Nigerian society, success without marriage invited whispers. Some admired her independence. Others pitied her, unaware of the battles she had fought in silence. Blessing learned to ignore the noise. She focused on building affordable housing projects and mentoring young women who reminded her of her younger self. Ambitious, hopeful, and unaware of life's hidden turns. Still, there were moments she longed for companionship. Not desperation, but genuine partnership. Someone who saw her scars and still chose her. She prayed quietly, leaving her future in God's hands. At a land inspection in Abeokuta, Blessing met Olu, an engineer overseeing infrastructure development. He was respectful, soft-spoken, and refreshingly patient. Their conversations were slow and intentional. Olu never rushed her, never pried. He admired her strength without trying to own it. As friendship blossomed, Blessing felt something unfamiliar. She felt safe. She battled fear silently, unsure if she could ever open her heart fully again. Olu sensed her hesitation and chose patience over pressure. Amanda's life had taken a quieter turn. She enrolled in a small catering program, discovering joy in honest labor. It wasn't glamorous, but it was dignified. She began speaking to young women at community centers, sharing her story without shame, hoping her truth would spare someone else pain. Some listened. Some judged. Amanda accepted both. She learned redemption doesn't come with applause. Though her past followed her, it no longer defined her future. As Blessing and Olu grew closer, Blessing knew honesty was unavoidable. One quiet evening, she told him everything. Her past relationship, her diagnosis, her fears. Olu listened without interruption. He asked questions gently, seeking understanding, not judgment. After a long silence, he told her he needed time, but not because he wanted to leave. He wanted wisdom. For the first time, Blessing felt hope without fear. The days that followed Olu's request for time felt longer than usual. Blessing stayed busy, but her mind often wandered. She had done the hardest part. She told the truth. Whatever came next, she knew she could survive it. Olu spent those days consulting doctors, counselors, and his faith. He wanted facts, not fear. He refused to let societal stigma decide for him. When he finally called Blessing, his voice was calm. He told her he respected her honesty and admired her courage. He said he was willing to walk the journey with her. Blessing cried that day, but not from pain this time, but relief. Their relationship soon became public. Reactions were mixed. Some praised Olu's maturity. Others whispered warnings and judgments. Olu's family raised concerns, not out of cruelty, but caution. Blessing faced their questions with grace, refusing to be ashamed of her story. It wasn't easy. There were nights she questioned everything. But Olu remained steady, reminding her that love was not ignorance, it was an intentional choice. Together they stood firm. Amanda watched from a distance, her heart heavy but hopeful. Blessing's courage inspired her to dream again. Not of romance, but of purpose. She was invited to speak at a women's conference in Benin City. Standing on that stage, she told her story fully, owning her mistakes without self-hatred. The applause that followed was not for perfection, but for honesty. Amanda realized her voice had become her healing. Olu proposed quietly, without spectacle. No crowd, no pressure, just sincerity. Blessing said yes, knowing the journey ahead would require strength and faith. They chose a modest engagement, prioritizing health, trust, and preparation over celebration. For Blessing, this was not a fairy tale, but something better, real. Wedding preparations began quietly. Blessing refused extravagance, choosing simplicity and meaning over display. Each step was accompanied by prayer, medical checkups, and honest conversations. Olu stood beside her through every appointment. His presence alone spoke louder than promises. He never rushed her healing, never dismissed her fears. Blessing's family was supportive, though cautious. They had witnessed her pain and wanted nothing but peace for her. In those months, Blessing learned that love was not blind. It was intentional. Just weeks before the wedding, rumors resurfaced. Someone leaked fragments of Blessing's past into social circles, twisting truth into scandal. The whispers reached Olu's extended family. Pressure mounted. Doubts crept in. Blessing considered stepping away, unwilling to become a burden. But Olu refused to let fear rewrite their story. Together, they confronted the storm openly. When Amanda heard of the rumors, she knew silence would be betrayal. She publicly addressed the issue at a community forum, taking responsibility for her past actions. She did not defend herself. She defended the truth. She spoke about accountability, consequences, and growth. Her courage shifted the narrative. People began to listen, to reflect. For the first time, Amanda felt truly free. The wedding went ahead, modest but beautiful. No spectacle, only meaning. Blessing walked down the aisle not as a victim, but as a survivor. Olu's vows were simple: commitment, honesty, and patience. That day, strength wore a gentle smile. Marriage introduced a different rhythm to Blessing's life. Her home with Olu was calm, intentional, and grounded in communication. There were no grand expectations, only mutual respect. They learned from each other slowly. Blessing discovered that some days were joyful, Other days required patience and healing. Olu never treated her past as a weakness. Instead, he treated it as part of her humanity. For the first time in years, Blessing slept without fear. Months later, a routine medical checkup brought unexpected news. Blessing's condition had improved significantly beyond expectations. Doctors called it progress. Blessing called it grace. She didn't celebrate loudly. She simply held Olu's hand and cried softly. Some miracles arrive quietly. So quietly you almost miss them. On the other hand, Amanda's outreach work expanded. She partnered with NGOs, counseling centers, and women's groups across Nigeria. Her story saved lives, not because it was perfect but because it was honest. She no longer hid from her past. She used it. The pain she learned could become purpose. Years after their fallout, Blessing and Amanda met again, this time without heaviness. They spoke openly, kindly, and without expectations. They were no longer inseparable girls, but wiser women who respected distance and growth. Some friendships don't return to what they were. They return to what they should be. Blessing did not become a mother immediately, but she became one in other ways. She mentored young women, funded scholarships, and built homes for families with nothing. Her love multiplied beyond biology. She realized purpose wore many faces. Amanda chose a quiet life. No spotlight. No chaos. She remained single, not from fear, but contentment. She learned that wholeness was not found in relationships alone. Peace became her greatest achievement. Life taught both women that choices echo loudly, even in silence. It taught them that friendship carries responsibility, not just loyalty. It taught them that healing is possible, but prevention is priceless. And above all, truth always demands a voice. Blessing stood one evening on a balcony, watching the Lagos sunset, grateful for survival. Amanda, miles away, prepared for another seminar, hopeful. Their lives had diverged, collided, broken, and healed. And in their stories lived a warning, a lesson, and a quiet hope for every woman listening. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel.